Just a week after the sun in the south of France, the Blancpain GT Series moves to Germany and the Nurburgring. It's our third Sprint Cup event of the year, with action guaranteed. Last time out, the Sprint Cup was on the Grand Prix circuit at Brands Hatch, a full field pouring its way through paddock on lap 1. There was plenty of action all the way through the field. Mercedes taking on Bentley, for example, on home soil, but Maxime Soulet went round the outside of Clement Schmidt to gain the place. Frederic Verviche in the Audi got himself in strife coming through Sterling's, and that caused cars to scatter left and right. Takaboshi in the Nissan managed to dive bomb the opposition. He gained 2 places going down towards Hawthorns. Soulet's next target was Martin Stockinger in the Audi. Side by side they ran over the timing line, the Bentley having the inside for paddock and taking the place. Nicky Melnhoff was battling with Jeroen Bleekemolen. Bleekemolen, the Dutchman in the Lamborghini, making his way through on the inside. At pit stop time, the race order became shuffled as the WRT team cycled its cars through, determined to try to get them back out ahead of the opposition. Christopher Mies in the Audi picked up the race lead, and he got himself out ahead of both Mercedes and Bentley, the number 8 Bentley being well and truly mugged on the pit stops. It set WRT up for a great finish, except it then lost 2 of its cars as Jimenez and Michael Meadows collided. That brought out the safety car. Everybody bunched up, and Maxime Soulet looked concerned. On the restart, it was Christopher Mies leading the Jules Szymkowiak, Bernd Schneider, Mercedes, with in third spot the Bentley of Maxime Soulet and Andy Soucek. And that was the way it would run all the way to the checkered flag. The cars had to contend with traffic, and the 2 race leading cars were nose to tail, but there was nothing the Mercedes could do. This was going to be an Audi day, as up towards the checkered flag came Christopher Mies to score victory for him and for Enzo Ede. This weekend at the Nurburgring, we hook up with the German Truck Grand Prix. That means a different kind of rubber on the ground and the very short version of the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit. And it's somewhere that Bentley is hoping for better fortunes than last week in the Endurance Cup race at Paul Ricard. Andy Soucek is after a win.
We've already done 2 sprint races, in Misano where we won and in Brands Hatch where we finished 3rd. So apparently the car does well in sprint as well. We don't have to forget that the champion at the moment is the Bentley from last year. So I believe that the car will be fine. There is no reason why we shouldn't think so. It's true that Nürburgring with this short track is a bit different, the layout, to the one we were doing in Endurance. And that doesn't benefit us, but I think we'll be right up there again.
On this multi-million euro grid, another mouth-watering car is the Lamborghini Huracan. The GRT Grasser Racing team is here as ever, with 2 of its cars and 2 very strong driver lineups, and these could well be cars that are topping the podium come the end of each of the 2 races, the qualifying and the main. Lukas Stolz is one of the drivers in number 19. He knows the circuit well, and he's optimistic of a good result.
I raced Blancpain Sprint in 2013, so I'm used to the Sprint series. I'm now with Lamborghini, which is a really nice brand. I really enjoy the driving of the Lamborghini. I think the Nürburgring fits quite well to the car. We have some tight corners and also some fast corners, so I think we're going to be competitive this weekend.
You could argue that against some of the opposition, the Nissan is getting a bit long in the tooth, but the 2 cars remain competitive nonetheless. And Alex Bunker, behind the wheel of 23, is looking forward to a good result.
Yeah, we're feeling good. In practice today it could have gone a bit better, I'll be honest, but we couldn't seem to get the brand new tyre to work. Yeah, it's a new configuration of circuit for me, but I know sort of 9 out of the 10 corners anyway, so yeah, no, it should be a good weekend for us.
Second generation racer Sebastian Asch is the reigning German GT champion. This weekend he splits away from his regular Mercedes to drive a Porsche, and he's well prepared for a circuit around which he has done many a mile in his successful racing career.
We will be well prepared for this weekend here at Nürburgring, and yeah, we have tested the car this week, and I think here at Nürburgring we want to go on the top 10.
McLaren comes to the Nürburgring on a roll. 2 Endurance Cup victories, and the Garage 59 car in the hands of Alvaro Parente is going to be another key front runner this weekend. Is the McLaren the ideal car for the short version of the Nürburgring? We'll find out, but Parente and co-driver Rob Bell certainly have a great chance of victory here this weekend.
The first 2 rounds of the sprint, we came 4th in both main races at Misano and at Brands. So we're looking to fight for the podium. That's our target. That's how well I think the car is at the moment. We've got to be sharp on the pit stops. We've got to be sharp, in setup work. That's what we've been doing today. You always have to, be optimistic and aim very high and fight for it. So to get the best out of it. So yeah, that's what it's looking like.
The new Mercedes AMG GT3 dominated the 24-hour race here 2 months ago on the full Nordschleife. This is a very different proposition altogether. Are the cars going to be quick enough under the balance of performance to score victories in 1-hour races? Ben Schneider could drive this place with his eyes shut. What does he think his chances are this weekend?
The expectation is hopefully to get a good qualifying, because if we are not in top 10 in qualifying, it will be very hard to collect points. And this is our main target, but that means in the morning, this first sessions, we're going to work on the qualifying setup to find a good balance. And if we are in top 10, I think we have a good chance to finish in top 5, because the car is very strong over the race distance. But I think we are not strong enough at the moment to fight for a win.
The new BMW M6 has looked better in the Sprint Cup than in the Endurance Cup. And Philipp Eng, who's a double Carrera Cup Deutschland champion, new to full-time GT racing this year, comes to the Nurburgring with expectations high. This, again, could well be a car to beat.
Always feeling positive coming to a race weekend. I think we can have a good shot here. We were not starting very well in Misano, which is a similar kind of track, but that in the end, in the races, it turned out to be quite good. And I hope to do a podium here together with my teammate Alex Sims.
And what about Ferrari? No GT grid is complete without the prancing horse. The Rinaldi racing car is always one that's at the pointy end of the grid. And Norbert Siedler and Marco Seefried come to Nürburgring, adding their weight to the list of possible winners.
It's really an honor, to be in such a grid also with the other cars, but especially with the Ferrari up here. I like very much coming always to the Nürburgring. It's like returning from the 24 hours, which was my previous race. And okay, we do the small circuit. We have different layouts up here. That's the one, we call it the sprint version. It's challenging of terms like you have to be really spot on. Otherwise, it will be, I think, a very, very competitive qualifying. That will be the key factor for the race.
So the sun is shining, there are still a few grey clouds above, there's a threat of rain, and it's been threatening since about 9 o'clock this morning, but the scene is set with this huge grid. We've got 37 cars ready to go here on, as you've been hearing, the sprint version of the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, which means instead of going all the way down to the bottom of the hill, there's the little hairpin, the cut through, that loops them back round to the end of the lap. So let's have a look at the grid for this qualifying race. Alvaro Parent is the man who will start on pole position. Christopher Mies lining up alongside it. Max Buch is on row 2 with Laurens Vanthoor for company. The third row is where you find Philippe Salaquada alongside René Rast, then Marcus Winkelhock and Mirko Bortolotti for Audi and Lamborghini respectively. Franck Pereira is alongside Philipp Eng. Next on the grid, Dries Vanthoor and Patrick Niederhauser in the Lamborghini. 13th on the grid is the car in the hands of Christopher Hasse, Marco Seefried Ferrari lining up alongside. 15th is where you find Giacomo Piccini with the quickest of the Ferraris, and Maxime Soulet with work to do in Bentley number 8. Lucas Stolz will start in number 19, and Jeroen Mull, the quick Dutch driver, in number 100, ahead of Com Ledegaard, and then Felix Rosenqvist, last year's Macau Grand Prix winner and FIA Formula 3 champion. Michael Meadows and Maxime Martin are 2 to watch on the 11th row. Row 12 is the Jimenez Audi and Ben Schneider in 86 Mercedes. Then Stefan Rossina, who had a lap time disallowed, and Stephen Kane a long way back on the grid, 26th, ahead of Clement Schmidt, and then Marcus Pommer, Formula 3 racer. 29th is where you find Alex Buncombe, the Nissan hating this place because it doesn't like start-stop circuits. Morgan Moulin-Trafort is alongside Raffaele Giammaria and Stefan Lemaire, make an all-Ferrari 16th row, ahead of Sean Walkinshaw and Jean-Philippe Belloc, Nissan and Mercedes respectively. Then you have Christian Hook starting alongside Sebastian Ash, that car having lost its Q1 times, and likewise Edward Sandstrom lost his times at the back. The Porsche lost its times for crossing the timing line under the checkered flag twice. Sandstrom's car lost its times because they had the wrong driver in the wrong session, which is a bit of a schoolboy glitch. So, an hour of racing, the qualifying race here for the Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup at the Nurburgring. The front of the grid is McLaren and Audi. Parent in the McLaren, Christopher Mies in the Audi, and the light go green. We're racing, and a good start is made by Parent as they accelerate down towards the Mercedes arena. He hugs the inside line, trying to make sure that Mercedes and Audi and Lamborghini can't gang up on him, but has he got the right line going into the arena? Hard on the brakes, round the outside line, tries there to others contact as the Vanthoor Audi gets turned around, so Laurens Vanthoor is off facing the wrong way. Two through the gravel, one of the ISR Audis plus Lamborghini, but disaster for number one at the first corner, John.
Well, clean break for Alvaro Parent, but it was the Audis, the WRT Audis, ganging up, trying to get down the inside, as did the Mercedes-Benz. Dominic Brook, but nobody managed to eclipse the pace of the McLaren down into turn one, and it's going to be about, which is what the Garage 59 team have done. They've got their tyre temperatures pressured absolutely perfect, and that's going to work to their advantage.
So Laurens Vanthoor, number one, turned around. He was on the outside of Christopher Mies, contact from behind, and that has really interrupted the Audi's race. So that car's got a long hour ahead of it, trying to get back into the mix. Up the inside in 333 Ferrari there, trying to gain track position, is the Marco Seefried Ferrari. Is he going to be able to go through? Yes, I think he's just about scrabbled by, but then he gets hung out on the outside line as they work their way up towards the Ad Van Bergen for the first time. There with damage, the Audi sheds bodywork, limping round. It's going to be compromised. That is number two. That's the Meadows Leonard car. Michael Meadows at the wheel.
Yes, there was a secondary contact on the exit of turn one. We didn't quite catch it, and one of the BMWs, the row, well, it was about to go into the pit lane, decided against it. So there's been contact at different. Look, people driving through what is not the normal chicane to come back into the pit lane. One of those is the Audi of Laurens Vanthoor, I believe. That's the Michael Meadows car,
yeah.
The number two car coming in.
So getting out of people's way,
yeah,
really.
Yes, but messy in turn one. Normally a pinch point on the opening lap, and certainly lived up to expectations.
So Vanthoor has gone across the line 30th. Philip Salaquada was delayed. He's 31st. And Mirko Bortolotti was another driver involved. He has not yet come through, and he will do so, I think, into the pit lane if he gets that far at all. Now, there's going to be a drive-through penalty for Philip Salaquada if he gets out of his pit stop, and also for Marcus Winkelhock, who is in 10th place for jumping the start. So Winkelhock 10th is the significant one. Drive-through penalty for a jump start.
Well, that's their race effectively over, because by the time they make the entry to the pit lane, get through the long pit lane here at Nurburgring, but back to the race for the lead. Look, you can see the gap. It said half a second when they came across the line. In effect, it couldn't be any closer. The trouble that the Mies has got is the McLaren right now works very well indeed.
Now, Marcus Winkelhock has served his drive-through, so he's fallen down the order in number 6 Audi, but Franck Pereira, who is in 4th place, number 74, the white Audi, he is now doing sector times better than the 3 leading cars. So he is closing on Rast, who was closing on the top 2. This battle you're looking at, though, is 6th and 7th, and Vanthoor is staying on the tail of Philippe Eng, isn't he, as they work their way now up towards the chicane. Is he close enough? Not really.
No, and I mean, this is quite simply Philippe Eng doing what he needs to do in the BMW, but he is now creating a train of cars behind Dries Vanthoor, Maxime Soulet. No doubt Soulet, you can see the lights. I mean, not just flashing, they're just trying to burn a hole in the rear of the Audi to try and get the information through. The gap coming across the start-finish line reduced marginally, so Christopher Mies has taken a couple of tenths of a second out of the gap between first and second. René Rast within a second or third of that second place, and it's Franck Pereira.
Now, this is Vanthoor D under attack. Dries Vanthoor having to defend going into the Mercedes arena into turn 1 because he's got Maxime Soulet right up behind him. And of course, now that he's defending, Vanthoor's falling away a little bit for the BMW. Way wide there goes Maxime Soulet. Rides the curb, kicks up the dust on the outside of the road. He's also dropped back a little bit. Andy Soucek there nearest the camera watching on as the race leaders head towards the chicane. Dries Vanthoor dives up the inside. Has he done it? He has, but he goes straight on. He goes over the grass, one up and one down. And the danger is he gets mugged now by an opportunistic Soulet who tries to find the inside line. Dries Vanthoor defends. Soulet on the outside. Can he get the switchback? Can he duck up the inside coming out of the corner? They're onto the pit straight now. It is the Audi ahead, but the momentum is claimed by the Bentley. Absolutely nose to tail. Vanthoor starts to defend. They touch, I think, going over the line. Soulet still pushing, still pushing, still pushing. Does he dive up the inside? No, Vanthoor claims the line. But again, can the Bentley get the switchback? If the Audi goes deep into the corner, well, it gets a tap in the tail. Hurry up, says Soulet. Dries Vanthoor hangs on to it.
The problem is that Dries Vanthoor had to make more than one manoeuvre and look directly behind McLaren on the gearbox of the Bentley. So that was a strong opportunity for Maxime Soulet. Dries Vanthoor did everything he knew to do.
A great fight raging on. 6th and 7th. And Dries van Thor in the middle of all of this, trying to attack and defend at the same time, belying his lack of experience in GT racing because he's hanging on in there. Philipp Eng, who has stepped into GT racing this year. He did have a season in the German Championship, but into what you might call top-line racing after dominating Porsches for the last couple of years. Really under attack. Now, this is where Van Thor made the move a few laps ago, but ran onto the grass and lost the place again. He has got Maxime Soulet all over the back of him as the leaders come over the timing line. The leading quartet through. Then you've got the rather lonely Piccini fifth. What about sixth? It's still the same order, but if Soulet's got a good run, he might have a go at turn one.
Yeah, it looked like Maxime Soulet was closer than he'd ever been, and now right under the rear wing, pulls out. The straight line speed of the Audi is just probably going to keep him side by side, but Soulet is going to go the long way around. He can afford to brake a little bit later, but Dries van Thor late in the brakes. Now there's the undercut. Can Soulet get the advantage, get the drive in the Bentley that little bit earlier as the battle goes on again? Philipp Eng, I don't know whether he's watching what's going on ahead or watching what's going on behind, but he must certainly be enjoying the battle, probably wanting to keep his eye off the mirror, focused on what he's doing. There is the BMW, Dries van Thor, attached to him, almost like an anchor hook into the back of the BMW. And Maxime Soulet, but looks, the second BMW's found a way around the Audi. That's coming off turn 13 quicker than anybody else. The Audi is coming in and the BMW, all three coming in. So it's going to be a battle once again in the pit lane, the BMW, the Audi and the Bentley.
Okay, so here they come. Nose to tail in the pit lane. Look, Soulet almost into the back of Dries van Thor. More and more people still pushing hard as they come into the pit lane until they get to the white line. Then they slow right down, everyone bunching up as they head into the pits. So the race leaders, once more, work their way up through the Vidal chicane, the Vidal S, and then on towards the short straight down to the Ad Van Bogen. Speed building at this point all the time. Drop downhill, turn through the right-hander, climb uphill towards the chicane. Pit window remains open, of course, as the race order is jumbled through this period, but the leading quartet, no change. Parent fending off Christopher Mies, who is still staring at the back of the race-leading McLaren. In it comes now. So into the pit lane comes Alvaro Parent. Now we need to see, after the stops have all cycled through, where he's going to rejoin. In comes Alvaro Parent to give way to Rob Bell. Change 4 tyres. Rob stands by. British driver ready to clamber on board. As out on track. There, Dries van Thor's car up ahead of Bentley and the BMW. So the pit stops have given us a shuffle. So Dries van Thor has given way to Nico Müller, winner in the DTM at the Nurburgring last week. The Audi is ahead now of not only Alexander Sims, but he has in turn also been jumped by Andy Soucek.
Yes, and for Soucek, that's one relief because he doesn't have to deal with the Bentley, but the BMW's got good pace now again on fresh tyres. So Andy Soucek has got to think about what's going on behind. There was the race-leading car, Rob Bell behind the wheel, takes back to the racetrack, so let's wait for one more lap to see this whole thing recycled. Still showing Christopher Mies the last lap through, but where will the race leader, currently Christopher Mies, make his pit stop? And René Rast dives into the pit lane, as does Frank Pereira. So the pace of the McLaren with fresh rubber, new driver behind the wheel, not maybe sufficient, because WRT pit stops, we know, are amongst the best, if not the best, in the pit lane. So this is going to be a very close call between the Audis going into the pit lane and leaving at the point when the number one, or the McLaren that was leading, the 58 McLaren, comes down pit straight.
WRT ready.
And just Christopher Mies' last lap was within a tenth of a second of his previous fastest lap, but at this stage a quick lap, 1:29.2, so that's a hard run from Christopher Mies before he hands over to Enzoid, as we see the McLaren Rob Bell behind the wheel coming up to go on, complete his 22nd lap. This lap needs to be quicker just to give them that little bit of guarantee that René Rast in the pits. So the McLaren's coming down as Rast leaves the pit lane. There's the McLaren coming down pit straight.
But hasn't Stevens already been jumped by Stockinger in the ISR car? Because that's a change. The white Audi comes out ahead of the black one, and McLaren is going to be ahead of Stevens. So Bell is ahead of Stevens, but it looks as though the ISR car has managed to jump both of them on a very swift stop. The race leader is in the pits, so Christopher Mies is in to give way to Enzo Ede. There is the WRT pit box, ready to receive the car. Down the pit road it comes. The Belgian driver Enzo Ede ready to get on board, as stopping on his marks is Christopher Mies.
Well, certainly Enzo Ede did a very strong job in Brands Hatch when Christopher Mies took over the car to win the race. And for Enzo Ede, who is a gentleman driver, semi-professional, very competent, but at the level that Christopher Mies and others in the WRT team is not in the top rank. he's going to be asked to deliver here again at Nurburgring.
And this could be the lead battle in a moment, because you've got Audi and McLaren together. Back down the pit lane goes Enzo Eid, the race leaders, or second and third as they're about to become, are bearing down on him. But look at that lead that has been worked out by Christopher Mies to give way to Eid. Mega.
Rob Bell coming up alongside the Audi coming into turn one. He's not really sufficiently far alongside of the stage to try and muscle his way around. He's going to try and do it on the outside, but he needs to be careful he doesn't get run wide. Well, tough racing right now. Stockinger hanging in there, not leaving anything to Rob Bell whatsoever.
So Enzo Eid leads, Marlon Stockinger second, Rob Bell third, and a big slide from Stockinger, easy peasy lemon squeezy. That's one place, Gate.
Yeah, I mean, just the back end of the Audi just let go so quickly. Rob Bell said, oh wow, I'll take that. I don't need another invitation. Now it gives Rob Bell the opportunity to focus on Enzo Eid, who's probably got about 3 or so seconds advantage. Might be even more than that, just looking as they come through 4A up into turn 11.
And that is number 59, the second McLaren. It's the Martin Plowman car that has come to grief out of turn 4, just leaving the Mercedes arena. 59 has pulled off. The other car still chasing in second place, and the gap is down to 7.8 seconds. It's another half a second pullback.
2, 1, full course yellow now.
Full course yellow is called by Alain Adam, the race director. Everybody has to slow. If you don't, then there'll be a penalty, because they can see from your speed and your lap time, the delta time, whether people have gone at the required speed. It is so that car can be moved. So we don't have a safety car. They don't bunch up. The gaps should remain. If they don't, someone's either gone too slowly or someone behind has gone too quickly.
2, 1, green flag.
Green flag is waved, so we're back racing. Everybody just floors the throttle, and away we go again.
So it'll be the number 1 Audi trying to find its way around the outside. It'll be interesting to see why that gap, which had been down to 6.6 seconds, ends up being 8.5. Will Stevens all over the back, dives down the inside, takes that third position away. He's worked hard to get it. He was in track position. Marlon Stockinger sort of imagined that Will Stevens was going to vanish. It was not going to happen. That was a good pass, well judged. And René Rast, he likes that. I've got a teammate who I can work with. He's doing a good job.
So now it is just over 2 seconds between the top two. It is game on between Enzo Eid and Rob Bell as the cars turn out of the right-hander at turn 4. And Eid, dare one say, looks a bit more ragged now. He knows Rob Bell's coming. 2 corners on that lap. We've seen dust settling on exit.
And trouble for the Audi number 5. And what is that all about? Just simply going off track. That's done at the exit of 4A. No,
turn 1.
Turn 1, indeed it is.
Yeah, Nikolai Moller-Madsen, the driver, who was in 19th place. He's come out again, but he's brought gravel onto the road. This is a replay of 5th place, which was Andy Soucek, and is now Nico Müller, and that's how, up the inside.
Yeah, good pass. I mean, Andy Soucek kind of said, look, I've got no more to give, I can't defend.
Through the Mercedes arena, you're riding with Rob Bell in the McLaren. Enzo Eid ahead, almost within touching distance now. But even if Rob Bell catches and he runs a bit deep at 3, where's he going to make the move? Closing all the time. He stays right on the back of Eid now. Can he get the run? Coming out of turn 4 down to the hairpin. He pulls to the inside line, trying to unsettle Enzo Eid, trying to make him make a mistake. Is it going to happen as they work through? And Eid goes wide up the inside, tries to go Rob Bell, but he doesn't get the drive out of the corner. But he's right there, right on the tail of the Audi. Enzo Eid now has to go defensive, stick out his elbows and try and keep the McLaren behind him. Rob Bell looks up the inside and he can't do it. Through the right-hander, together they run up the curb. Enzo Eid leading the way, 1 more lap. There should be time for at the end of this. And again, the Audi seems to have good straight line speed, because he just gaps the McLaren ever so slightly coming up towards the chicane, but under braking. Up the curb, Rob Bell closes the gap down once more. Sector 1, he took 4 tenths out. Sector 2, he lost a tenth, but he has a cheeky look up the inside at turn 17, and he can't find a way through there. He's got to get a good run, Rob Bell, out of turn 17. As they come now up towards the timing line. There is just over a minute left. So this will be the last lap of the race. As through they go, nose to tail. Is this going to be where Rob Bell makes the challenge? Down towards turn 1, he thinks about it. He moves to the inside line. Enzo Eid defends. He covers the move at turn 1. Through the debris, they both run and it gets scattered aside. Eid hangs on to the advantage. Rob Bell right up behind as they work their way through the Mercedes arena. He's going to leave it late if he doesn't make the move up at turn 3 or 4, because then he's running out of options. through the left at turn 3. Rob ideally wants a good exit on this next corner and try and squirt up the inside into the hairpin. Is it going to happen? Enzo Eid runs wide, so does Rob Bell, using all of the available width of the road. Now, this is Audi territory. This is where the Audi historically is able to just extend the margin a little bit. The checkered flag is going to be made ready into the chicane for the last time, and unless Rob Bell can be a real hero coming through the last corner, it looks as though Enzo Eid might be able to hang on in there. Here comes Rob Bell up the curb. He makes a move to the inside. Enzo Eid repels him. Of course, the finish line is further back towards the exit of the corner than the start line down the pit straight, so Enzo Eid has got less distance to do, and he's going to score a race win because the checkered flag is waved. Enzo Eid wins by 0.3 of a second from Rob Bell in the McLaren. What a great drive by Enzo Eid to repel the challenge that Rob Bell put on him. Alvaro Parent so near and yet so far, but Eid it is who wins for himself and Christopher Mies. Rob Bell and Alvaro Parent second, and third Will Stevens and Rene Rast. And Enzo Eid deserves great credit for that. He had one of the top GT drivers in the world breathing down his neck, and it didn't seem to faze him. So, number 33 Audi, the winning car, and a replay of more dramas towards the end of the race. The number 19 Lamborghini being given a fairly rude tap. That was Michele Beretta. Beretta becoming a revolver because he was assaulted by Tristan Vautier. The result of the qualifying race, a win for Audi. Christopher Mies and Enzo Eid, the drivers. McLaren, 0.3 of a second back. Alvaro Parent and Rob Bell behind the wheel. Rene Rast and Will Stevens, Audi takes third. Audi fourth, Marlon Stockinger and Franck Pereira ahead of the Audi of Nico Müller and Dries Vanthoor. Then Andy Soucek and Maxime Soulet's Bentley sixth. BMW 7th, Alexander Sims and Philipp Eng. The best Mercedes 8th, Jules Schimkowiak and Ben Schneider 9th, Steph Dusseldorp and Maxime Martin's BMW 10th, Dominic Baumann and Maximilian Buch's Mercedes ahead of the Kane Avril Bentley and the Siedler Siegfried Ferrari in 12th. Lamborghini in 13th place, the Attempto Racing car number 101 of Daniel Zampieri and Patrick Niederhauser. In 14th place, the Audi of Baptista and Jimenez. Then Mercedes of Jafar and Schmidt, the Mercedes of Vautier and Rosenqvist ahead of the spun Lamborghini, Beretta and Stoltz. And Nissan 18th, Takeboshi and Buncombe, really frustrated with that, as you see the rest of the top 24 at the end of a very lively qualifying race.
Christopher Mies, can you believe that you won this race? Because Enzo under pressure all the way.
I think Enzo is the man of the race. I mean, to hold back a McLaren factory driver for such a long time and doing such a good lap time, our second win in a row, it's just fantastic. You know, came here as championship leader. Now we extended the championship lead thanks to this guy. Really, really good job. Just proud of him.
Well, Enzo, you were given a big task because you knew the McLaren was always coming, but you didn't make any mistake. Like, you kicked up a bit of dust in a couple of corners, but you did a wonderful job.
Yeah, it was for sure the last few laps. It was really close to me. It was a nice battle, you know, and at the end we brought it back in first position, so better than that you could not expect. My mate here is also did P3 in qualifying, so then he was really quick, and we came out in P1 and after the driver change, and just kept it there. So, like he said, second win in a row feels great, but you know, as we do, it's tomorrow the biggest point.
Well done, Enzo. Well done, Christopher. Fantastic drive. Thank you.
Let's hear from the vanquished Rob Bell and Alvaro Parent.
Alvaro, while you're getting undressed, I'm going to talk to Rob. Rob, you lost time in the pit lane, basically. You fought to get that gap up from a 10.2, whatever, to nothing. But at the end of the day, you just ran out of time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we were catching the leader, but to be fair, he put the car in the right places in the last couple of laps, so he did a good job. Who knows? One more lap, who knows? But, you know, we'll be fighting from the front row tomorrow, which will be great. McLaren was good today. We just need to sharpen up, as you say, in the pits, and, you know, that's just hard work and a bit more practice, I think.
Alvaro, you led the race from the start. We thought you were going to pull away from the Audis, but suddenly they came back at you and they gave you a hard time.
Oh yeah, definitely. We at the beginning we were looking very, very strong, and that it was going to be a possibility to pull away a little bit. But as degradation happened with the tires, it wasn't possible to pull any gap. But we maintained, you know. It was a race. It was everyone pushing very hard. Some moil on the track, very tricky at the beginning, as you saw. Probably some P2 spinning and P4 spinning also first lap, so that was quite tricky. And then yeah, that's we'll work a bit more in the stops there, and we'll keep fighting and pushing, isn't it, Ron?
Well, front row tomorrow doesn't get much better.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
And they're the trophies to the race winners, to Christopher Mies and to Enzo Eid, winners of the qualifying race here at the Nurburgring. So get ready for action, because the main race is going to be getting underway shortly here at the Nurburgring. About an hour ago we had some rain, the track is just about dry once more, and it's a very jumbled grid. We had a great race yesterday, expect more of the same. The cars have this final formation lap, and then we will be in business. Let's have another look at the full grid. Enzo Eid and Rob Bell on the front row. Row 2, Will Stevens and Marlin Stockinger. The third row of the grid has on the inside Nico Müller and Andy Soucek lining up alongside. It's BMW and Mercedes next. Alexander Sims alongside Jules Kowiak. Then it's BMW alongside Mercedes once again. Steph Dusseldorf and Dominic Baumann on row 5. Row 6, all Italian. Ferrari, Norbert Siedler starting, and alongside him is Daniel Zampieri in the Lamborghini. Rodrigo Baptista's Audi and the Mercedes of Jasmine Jafar share row 7. Row 8, there is Michele Beretta's Lamborghini and the Nissan in the hands of Mitsunori Takaboshi. Row 9, Lamborghini and Ferrari. Davide Valsecchi will start the Lamborghini. Michael Bronizeski will start the Ferrari. Then Santiloc's Audi of Romain Monti and Nikolai Moller-Madsen in the Phoenix car, the second of which is driven by Nicky Mar Melnhoff, lining up on row 11 with Max van Splunteren alongside. 23rd is the Bentley of Vincent Abril. 24th, Frederic Verviche, 2 cars to watch there. Then Ricardo Sanchez in the Nissan alongside Jean-Luc Bobelic's Mercedes, sister car of Tristan Vautier, which was given 2 30-second penalties for contact yesterday. 2 separate accidents, lines up on row 14 alongside Stuart Leonard's Audi, ahead of Claudio Stevanovic with the AF Corsa Ferrari and Christophe Bourret's Mercedes. Mike Parisi and Steve Parrow, the pseudonym driver, next, ahead of Ezequiel Perez Compact, and Martin Plowman with a new fuel pump in the Garage 59 McLaren. Frank Stippler, after damage yesterday, near the back of the grid in 75, 9th in the championship. Nicolas Pola in the damaged Lamborghini from an incident on lap 1 starts alongside, and then Didi Gonzalez in the Porsche will round out the grid. Nurburgring, round 3 of the Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup. The main race is go. Lights go green, it's blast off, and the McLaren charges away. Rob Bell gets the lead, moves across on Enzo Eid to defend all the way down to turn 1. Will Stevens in the Audi with the green wing tries to get up the inside as well, but Maxime Soulet and Andy Soucek's Bentley. Soucek at the wheel looking for track space on the inside and in the middle, and up the curb goes Enzo Eid, and wide goes the Bentley. Wide also there goes the ISR Audi of Marlin Stockinger, and the Bentley in strife as they work their way up towards turn 2.
Yes, it's going rally cross on the exit of turn 1 into turn 2, so starting in the 3rd row grid position all the way now back to what would have been the equivalent of about 10th or 11th.
There's some damage, isn't there? Looks like bodywork fouling a tyre. There's a bit of smoke coming off Bentley number 8, so drama straight away for Andy Soucek as the race-leading McLaren tries to make good his escape, just like Alvaro Parent did in the equivalent stint yesterday through the hairpin, lap 1. Cars accelerate their way, they're now up towards turn 11, and it's Rob Bell in the lead of the race. Enzo Eid running second. In 3rd spot, it is Will Stevens, and then 4th going after them is Nico Müller.
But it's in the middle to the back of the field, coming out of turn 4A. This sounds Mercedes, literally there's not a space of tarmac you can leave live on.
And somebody else that's, of course, trying to make some progress from yesterday, the 84 Baumann and Buch Mercedes as they work their way up towards the chicane. Then for the first time, Rob Bell it is leading the way. Now, is he going to get away from the opposition? Yesterday, Alvaro Parent was in a similar situation. He led, but he could never shake off the pack behind. Today, it's Rob Bell's turn to see how he gets on as they dive into the chicane. Bronizeski coming under attack from number 1 Audi there, which has got Frederic Verviche at the wheel for the first stint as over the line. 1 lap in the book. Rob Bell leads the way. Second coming over the timing line, the Audi of Enzo Eid. It's Audi 3rd. Will Stevens is Audi 4th in the hands of Nico Müller. Then it's Mercedes 5th. Jules Kowiak, BMW 6th. Alexander Sims. And look at the second BMW getting all towies round the outside. Goes the Ferrari there. Norbert Siedler tries to gain the place, but hung out to dry.
You just got to be so careful. Those curbs are wringing wet. You put a tower on it, you're going to lose traction. And just we saw that Enzo Eid doing it, coming out of turn 3, running very wide. The grass, or more like it's an AstroTurf on the outside of these corners, still holding lots and lots of moisture. You've just got to be very careful. Here on the exit of 4, everybody traditionally, well, we see again on board the Ferrari. There's the 8 Bentley in left front, looks like it's gone down. Yeah. And what a terrible start for Andy Soucek, who was hoping after a position, a 6th position yesterday, for better today.
The number 4 Audi here is allowing the 2 teammates, 2nd and 3rd, to build a bit more of a cushion up the road. So this could be quite important later in the race as they work their way now through the Mercedes arena. Look at the traffic jam that's queuing up behind Nico Müller. Now, does he genuinely not have pace, or is this a ploy to let the other 2 get a big advantage for later in the race?
In my view, Nico Müller has got all the pace in the world. We saw that on Saturday afternoon. I cannot believe that there's a conscious and deliberate attempt to to slow down the pack behind, because it's the Mercedes which really wasn't in the battle for the lead. What he is doing, of course, is creating a chain of cars which is now probably about 10 or 11 cars long, and the pace is being dictated by the Audi. Everybody's going to get frustrated. Tempers may get frayed.
And then light the blue touch paper and stand back. But you can see how far back this train is falling. So Nico Müller, having finished 5th in yesterday's race, mysteriously not able to run with the leaders at the moment. Honest, up towards the chicane. Mercedes, BMW tucked up behind. So number 99 there, Alexander Sims, the British driver, on the back of Jules Szymkowiak, former Formula 3 racer. Szymkowiak on the back of DTM race winner Nico Müller.
Szymkowiak didn't quite get as close to the tail of the Audi as he has done previous laps there. We can see Dominic Baumann having go to defensive against the Ferrari. The Ferrari has got good straight line speed, might be able to get a nose ahead as they come down into turn 1. Baumann holds the line, but the outside of the racetrack still reasonably grippy, and the Ferrari gets the job done. There you can see Enzo Weed going defensive. Will Stevens has got the speed off the corner, makes a very clean and easy pass, but certainly that was the easiest pass I've seen all weekend.
Now what's going to happen next in this line of cars? It's got to be the Ferrari, hasn't it? That's the mover, because Norbert Siedler is on his toes, looking for a way past the big BMW, new this year, in the hands of Alexander Sims as they turn their way now up towards the completion of the lap, riding with the Ferrari.
But remember, the BMW, that 4-litre twin-turbo engine, got great squirt, good traction out of turn 17, and the Ferrari, although it's got more top speed, Alexander Sims recognises that. Can Siedler do the same thing he did to the Mercedes a couple of laps ago? He's going to try and find the long way around, almost side by side as they go in. Sims runs them wide. Siedler's got to duck in behind the back of the BMW. Alexander Sims, familiar with the car, familiar with the racetrack, knows where to put the BMW. Slower off the corner, the Ferrari's got the advantage. Again, strong defence from Sims. Now look at Dominic Baumann has gone up the inside, and the Ferrari's been wrong-sided completely by the BMW and the Mercedes, but it somehow or other gets back to the front.
Over the line, what a battle, fantastic. And the other BMW is buying into this as well now, because Steph Dusseldorf is at the back of the queue. Siedler on the outside line, gets his nose in front, down towards turn 1. He's done it. Look at the other BMW. Is this going to pay out for Dusseldorf? He's right there on the back of Baumann. Siedler is through. He's up now into 6th place, and he's got a bit of clear real estate ahead of him. So now Siedler can sprint away. Let's have a look at a replay of the start and have a look at Andy Soucek's Bentley and also 74 Audi of Martin Stockinger, because they are under investigation.
So they come in side by side. The Bentley sort of sandwiched between the two Audis, turns in. There's contact initially, then the contact with the ISR Audi on the outside, and really I don't think there's very much will be said about it. There's just too many cars and too little real estate, and the inevitable occurred. They're back to the lead, and the Bentley is between the first and second place cars. There is Will Stevens. Last time he came across the line, 2.7 seconds was the gap, and there's a little bit of a bobble for Müller coming into the chicane under braking. Enzo Weed comes out of the corner. Now that gives Szymkowiak the chance. That little bobble for Nico Müller put him in a danger zone. The Mercedes has managed to get cleanly through. Bump on the back just to say, look, I didn't let you do that easily, and I'm not going to make it easy for you in turn 17 either. So as we look again and see Szymkowiak trying to make a move again further back. Nico Müller going very defensive on the entry down into turn 1. The Ferrari struggling in the gets.
Through goes the Mercedes.
Yep,
Enzo Weed gave him plenty of room, didn't he? Got wrong-footed a bit there, ran out wide.
Now the Ferrari closer than it's ever been, coming through turn 12 as they go on to the second quickest part of this Nurburgring sprint racetrack. The Ferrari trying to get up alongside as they come into the dogleg, gets alongside, gets the position. Well done, well executed.
Baumann is up to 7th, incidentally, ahead of Alexander Sims. That change has happened as well, as they're diving up the inside at turn 1. It's Frederic Vervisch, the number 1 Audi, against 99 Alexander Sims. Through goes the Audi. Up into 8th place goes Vervisch, or does he? Because he's on the wrong line for turn 2, and Alexander Sims says, no, I'll have that place back.
Well, Sims just had done enough. And look at also Dusseldorf, and now we're seeing the Vervisch running way off track, about to lose, and nearly cut the nose off the Audi as he came back on track.
Siedler needs once more that good run out of turn 17 to make the move on the way down to turn 1. He pulls out, tries to distract Enzo Weed, put him offline going through turn 17, but he just seems to soak up pressure these days. He comes out of the final right-hander. Both of them ride the curve. Over the timing line they come. There's less than a length in it, but Siedler now has a good run.
Yes, but he can't get down the right-hand side of the track. Audi's going to block that. Gets up alongside. He's got further ahead this time, or further alongside this time, and the opportunity to keep his nose ahead and stay, and they're going to be on the right side of the track. So the Ferrari has got the track position, gets the place done. Great defence by Eid, minor little bit of contact, totally fair within the context of the battle that's going on.
Marco Seefried getting ready to take over from Norbert Siedler. WRT is going to have to cycle 2 cars through at once, so both Eid and Muller come in. Christopher Mies and Dries van Thor will leave. Rover Racing turning Alexander Sims' car around, and therefore Philip Eng to get behind the wheel of that. So it's still Bell, Stevens, Szymkowiak, Siedler, Vervish, Dusseldorf, the leading 6 now, and there is Rob Bell. So now look, they're having to wriggle the cars around, and it looks as though it is going to be...
It's a problem for the end to Eid, Christopher Haas. That left rear is not coming off. Lead car coming in.
So in has come Rob Bell. So Will Stevens now leads the way. There he is, 28 Audi then coming out of turn 4. That's the leading car on the pit stops. He was 3.8 seconds behind on the previous lap, now leads the way. Lamborghini pit stops cycling through. Leader in, Will Stevens into the pit lane to give way to René Rast in 28. So the race-leading Audi comes in. I suspect the Ferrari of Norbert Siedler will chase him down the pit lane. The Ferrari is in the pit lane then as it works its way on the tight inside of turn 17 down the pit road. WRT hoping for no dramas here for the Stevens-Rast car. Of course, there were dramas earlier in the pit stop window for the number 4 Van Thor Muller Audi. That car's pit stop was 1 minute and 19.7 seconds against 52 seconds of the Mies-Eid sister car. There, over the timing line goes Alvaro Parent. Now, does he get the lead of the race back? It's going to be close because there is René Rast. But the McLaren does hang on to the advantage. So today, better pit stops. Maybe not quite as good as the Mies-Eid pit stop, but it's good enough to keep the car in the lead. And then there's the fight for 3rd and 4th places. Schneider only 6 tenths ahead of Mies. Mercedes versus Audi. Then it's Ferrari versus Mercedes. 4 tenths between Marco Seefried and Maximilian Buch, who closes right up under braking at turn 1. Through the Mercedes arena, they turn. Best Mercedes still 3rd, and there it is, Bert Schneider. 9 tenths ahead now of Christopher Mies. That gap has just widened a little for the last 2 laps. They turn their way up towards turn 4. There you've got the Marco Seefried versus Maximilian Buch battle. That's 5th and 6th. And in the background, as very wide goes Seefried, is the charging and catching Lawrence Van Thor. Seefried back on the road, but Buch all over him. Over the timing line comes 23, which is Alex Buncombe in the Nissan. And a dive up the inside there. Look, heading down towards turn 1. And that sorts out number 3. We've now got a couple of cars being given drive-through penalties. 89, Jean-Philippe Belloc, he's 1 for speeding in the pit lane. And 19, Lukas Stoltz is another for exceeding track limits in the chicane. The race-leading car is under investigation. The start of car 58 under investigation after the race. Now, that 15 minutes and change into the race now comes up on the timing screen. But Rob Bell's start, for he was the man behind the wheel, is going to be investigated after the race. Well, let's have a look at the starts. Have a look at this, John, see what you think.
Well, waiting for the lights. You can't see don't see the lights going out. Well, I can't see anything there from this angle, other than he went from left to right and made a block on into Eid, but I can't see that would be the issue.
Rosina comes under attack. Clement Schmidt tries to make a move. There's lots of lights flashing, but this is a proper battle for position. It's not flashing your lights at a back marker. So nose to tail they run then as they work their way up towards the end of the lap. Out of the draft pulls Clement Schmidt in the Mercedes. He goes to the inside. Absolutely level as they go down towards turn 1. This is Schmidt's chance. They're only fighting for 23rd, but it's as intense a battle as you'll find anywhere. The Mercedes goes through. Clement Schmidt up the inside, deep into the corner. Can Rosina come back in? The answer is no. The Slovakian driver has to slot back in behind him. So it's still McLaren from Audi, from Mercedes in the top 3 different brands being represented. In 4th place, Christopher Mies for Audi, 5th for Ferrari, they're the green car. It is Marco Seefried, Mercedes 6th, Buch 7th, Audi, Van Thor, and then BMW 8th and 9th, Maxime Martin ahead of Philip Eng. And so, Rob Bell started, Alvaro Parent will finish, but the start under investigation for that car, so we'll have to wait and see post-race what, if anything, is going to be done to affect the story. It may not be over when the checkered flag flies, and that checkered flag is about to be displayed. Honours in the main race at the Nurburgring will go to McLaren, to Alvaro Parent and Rob Bell. The McLaren charges across the line to win. Audi 2nd, 2 seconds behind René Rast and Will Stevens, the drivers, and 3rd should be the best of the Mercedes. Ben Schneider and Jules Szymkowiak will bring the car home. As there, Rob Bell in the overalls congratulates the team. And for 2nd place, Will Stevens and René Rast for WRT. Dries van Thor making his way out of the garage. His car, in the end, a long way down the order in well, indeed in the pit lane now, because it was brought in for a penalty and it stayed there, 34th. It will be classified, but huge frustration for that car as the WRT team has had a mixed weekend, but McLaren taking a Sprint Cup win a week after, just over a week after, an Endurance Cup win. The provisional result after 41 drama-filled laps, a win for Rob Bell and Alvaro Parent ahead of Will Stevens and Rene Rast. Jules Kowiak and Bert Schneider third ahead of Enzo Eden, Christopher Mies, Norbert Siedler and Marco Seefried to take fifth, and then Dominic Baumann and Maxi Buch sixth ahead of Frederik Vervisch and Lawrence Van Thor. Eighth and ninth for BMW, Steph Dusseldorf and Maxime Martin ahead of Alexander Sims and Philipp Eng. Mercedes 10th with Felix Rosenqvist and Tristan Vautier bringing the car home to round out the top 10. We'll have a chance to hear from the winners because Alvaro Parent and Rob Bell are with John Watson.
Rob Bell, congratulations. Not only have you won 2 endurance events, now finally Garage 59 have won the sprint.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great feeling. The team done a great job. Changed the car a little bit overnight, and actually I think the rain helped us. A little bit of rain beforehand, a little bit of uncertainty, and it cleaned the track up, and the car was great in the race.
Now, we got a message on our screen saying your start's being investigated. Tell us what it's all about.
I'm not too sure, but what I do know is it was one of the best starts I've ever done. I knew how important it was in the first corner because it was still damp, and it was one of those ones where it was just in the right rev range, it went green, and I just got a jump. It was fantastic. So I don't know, do you get penalised for a great start? I hope not.
Alvaro, you took over the car. You're always under pressure from the 28 Audi, but then you managed to put out a bit of a gap at the end.
Yeah, we saved these new tyres for this stint, pushed hard at the beginning, managed to pull away a little bit. Then as they had fresh tyres, they pulled in a little bit, and then we just controlled the gap, but very happy with the race. Mega start from Rob. Congratulations to the team, and fantastic result. We're on the top step.
And maximum points. Well done, guys.
Thank you.
So, 2 happy McLaren drivers. Let's hope they stay happy, because if that start is being investigated and it has a negative outcome for Rob Bell, then it will be a different story altogether. But Rob says he made a great start, his best, one of his best. Let's hope that the race officials agree with that. An all-action main race here at the Nurburgring in the Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup. And that now, if you take both sprint and endurance combined, gives Rob Bell the championship lead over Maximilian Buch and Dominic Baumann. Come Ledegaard third with Shane van Gisbergen, who we only see in the endurance races. Lawrence Van Thor, Frederik Vervisch come next, ahead of Alvaro Parent. Then Maxime Soulé and Andy Soucek. Christopher Mies and Enzo Ede are next in the point standing. So Rob Bell leading the overall Blancpain GT Series. Rob Bell, Alvaro Parent win at the Nurburgring for Garage 59 and McLaren in the third round of the Blancpain GT Series Sprint Cup. It has been yet another tremendous race. The celebration's about to begin on the podium. For here, though, from John Watson and David Addison. Bye-bye.